Hi everyone, my name's Lily. I am the book reviewer behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I'm going to be sharing with you some diverse Pride and Prejudice retellings. This is going to feature 3 books I haven't read and 3 books I have read. So I'm just going to start off with the books I haven't read because that is actually the inspiration for this video. On a previous Librofm sale, I mentioned that Good Fortune was on sale, and I mentioned that I actually had it but hadn't read it yet. And actually, Good Fortune is a reimagining of Pride and Prejudice, which is why this video now exists. It came out last year, and look, I can say the synopsis of Pride and Prejudice many times because these are all pretty straightforward, close retellings. There are a lot of other things that are Pride and Prejudice retellings that are pretty ambiguous or nebulous or a little bit further removed. These ones are all pretty close to it. You know, we have a couple different families. We also have like the dynamic of being prideful and having prejudices and like the interchange between them. You know, at various points we're not sure if Elizabeth or Darcy is the prideful one, is the one with prejudices, you know, vice versa. And so I don't really know how else I can they're all gonna have like the same elements to it. So I'm just gonna say, I guess, what is the unique take on each one of these ones, at least ones that I haven't read. So this Good Fortune book takes place in contemporary Chinatown. And so in this scenario, I mentioned this in the Librofm video, but in this scenario, the main character, Elizabeth, her mother sells a derelict community center to a family which comes in to reinvigorate the neighborhood. And of course, the family that comes in are the Darcy family. And the Darcy family comes in and they want to give it a makeover. And so the two of them are obviously going to have a lot of sparks and a lot of sparks in a variety of different ways. And so that is the premise, I guess, of Good Fortune. The idea of Pride and Prejudice retellings, or retellings in general, is something I've been thinking about a lot, and we had chatted about it actually in a YA fantasy retelling panel I did, and one I will do in the future, another YA retelling panel. And it's kind of talking about the difference between retellings and reimaginations, and the idea of sort of taking a story and following for emotional beat for beat. That's kind of what we're talking about today. Versus a reimagining that takes themes, characters, elements, and kind of transposes them and uses them as inspiration. And you can recognize them in it, but you're not going to see the same kind of story moments. You're not going to be the same emotional kind of, crescendos. The plot is not going to mirror the original one. The next one is Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors. And I've actually read one of the other ones of these Austen retellings. It's set in San Francisco. And in this one, one of the main characters is a neurosurgeon. She is kind of on the outs a little bit with her family in the sense that she's kind of defied her family. She's sort of jeopardized her brother's political career, and she is trying to get back in good graces with her family. The love interest, or the other character in this story, in this case, is a chef, and he finds out that he needs the main character, Trisha's, help to save his sister. And of course, they're going to have some issues here. Assumptions that kind of come head to head. And this one is on my TBR. I think I even have this one as an audiobook. And I have read another book in this series, The Rajas. I think I read the Persuasion one. Yeah, Recipe for Persuasion. And actually the other ones are Sense and Sensibility and Emma. So it's kind of a whole series of books that are all Jane Austen inspired. And the next one is a YA, and it's a Debating Darcy, which I had an arc of and I cannot find on my shelf. But they are 2 YA characters, and one of them, I think they're like debaters or the competitors for debate, I think. And so one of them, they're obviously trying to one-up each other, so they know each other a lot more in this one. And so when they're debating each other in an upcoming competition, she realizes that perhaps she misjudged Darcy. This is going to be a great segue for me to talk about some retellings that I've read that are YA books. And the first one that I read a while ago in 2019 was Pride by Ibi Zoboi. And Pride was set in Brooklyn, or it is set in Brooklyn. And it's basically two families. Darcy's new family moves in across the street. Obviously, our main character, Zuri, doesn't want to have anything to do with the Darcy family, as, you know, the Pride and Prejudice elements. But this one also has where her older sister starts to fall for one of the brothers. So that's where you're seeing the Elizabeth is the main character. What is her sister's name? I don't remember. The older sister starts to fall in love with one of the brothers. And so obviously her and the other brother need to kind of figure out their own issues so that they can have the other sisters or their siblings can be happy. I listened to Pride as an audiobook, and it's actually narrated by Elizabeth Acevedo, who is a writer in and of herself. She has written Clap When You Land. She's written a few other books. So that was a really fun experience, especially because some of Acevedo's works have been works that are in verse. So definitely recommend the audiobook if you like audiobooks, because I really, really loved it. But I think what I really loved as well about Pride is that it takes on the initial kind of things that everyone's looking for, and it really kind of allows it to have a new take on it. I enjoyed the sibling relationship, specifically all four of the siblings here, so much. I also enjoyed how Pride tackles issues of gentrification, and specifically because it's set in Brooklyn as well, but also it's set in an urban city in general, so it also tackles gentrification. And in general, I really, really loved Zuri as a main character. And the next YA book I want to chat about is Most Ardently. This has been one of my favorite reads of this year. It is a part of the Fierce Reads Remixed Classic series, which takes all classic books and remixes them. And Most Ardently takes place in 1812. It features a trans main character. All of the remix series feature marginalized characters at the core. And so this historical fiction retelling of Pride and Prejudice features a trans main character is trying to figure out identity, safety, security, and also what kind of futures could exist. I really loved this book in the sense that I think historical fiction, specifically featuring queer characters, this balance between safety and security and love, because in historical fiction and also in normal fiction today, it's not always so easy for queer characters or queer people to be able to live in ways that honor who they are, who they want to be with, and who they love, while also being safe and secure in their livelihoods and their just general safety. And so this queer historical fiction book definitely talks about that, and also talks about the different layers of privilege, the different ways that our main character is able to have certain advantages and also be trapped in other ways. And so this one has to be one of my top favorite remixes from this remixed classic series so far. There are really, really fun little cute Easter eggs. It's also the most closely related in terms of setting as well, since it's set in 1812, in terms of setting to the original Pride and Prejudice. And the last one I want to talk about is Aisha at Last, which I also read in 2019, so super far away. Basically, Aisha has the dream of being a poet, but she currently is a teacher. She doesn't want an arranged marriage, but then she ends up meeting another character who is smart and handsome, but also conservative and judgmental. I'm taking that directly from the Goodreads synopsis. And so then you're obviously going to see the Pride and Prejudice dynamic there. And so Aisha ends up being conflicted about how she feels about Khalid, but also what she'll necessarily hear about his family. So Aisha at Last was a really great Pride and Prejudice retelling. And what I think and liked about this one is that it talks about how hard it is to kind of turn our back on a dream. I found this extremely relatable in 2019, and I will find this extremely relatable now as well if I were to do a reread. But it's kind of about what we desire in our heart, what we know we should desire, and what also we're doing but may leave us hollow. It's also dual perspective as well, which I don't know if all of these other Pride and Prejudice retellings are, but this one at least is dual perspective. And similarly to that, I think it's really great to have it dual perspective so that we can see the ways in which each character is going on their own different character arc and character journey. And so these are some of the earliest Pride and Prejudice retellings I've read, but still ones that have stuck with me and that I remembered for this video. Please let me know down below if you know any other really great Pride and Prejudice retellings that are also diverse. It's kind of hard for me to put this video together, only because I knew kind of the ones that I had read. I knew things that were on my TBR, but then I was looking for more and more books to add to it. And for some reason, I don't know if the search parameters were off, I just couldn't really find sort of concise lists and concise sort of videos about it, basically. So here we go. Here's a video. And I hope that I find a lot more of these in the future. I hope to see you in the next video. Have a really great rest of your reading day, week, month, and year. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.